Welcome to MarketPulse, Pros and Pioneers. Each week, we talk with industry leaders in both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing. Right now, we'll hear all about their successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is MarketPulse, Pros and Pioneers.
And welcome to this week's episode of the MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers podcast. This week, I'm joined by Lee Bryan from Arcus Compliance. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thank you, Paul.
Good to have you along. It's
good to be here.
If this is your first time listening to the MarketPulse podcast, we're aimed at small to medium business owners. We want to help you get more out of your time with your marketing. We want to enable you to do more of the right things. And we want you to learn from the best, people who've been there and done it all. Sometimes that'll be business owners like Lee, who've been around the world, done lots of different interesting things and come up against lots of different marketing challenges that they've either solved or still have. And we can discuss what those might be. Or marketing experts who themselves have clients in lots of different industries who are sharing best practice and examples of their work. Hi, and thanks for joining us for the show. I'm Paul, founder here at Javelin Content Management. We specialize in getting ideas out of your head, down into video, and out to your social media through repurposing and efficient content strategies. If you want to find out how you can convert your ideal audience into paying customers, reach out to us, javelincontent.com, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Just as we get started then, Lee, would you like to just give us the 5-minute overview of how you got started at Arcus? What's your journey to running your own business?
Yeah, sure. 5 minutes. I'll try and squeeze it in. Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Arcus Compliance. I think I spent my early part of my career bouncing around, to be honest, trying to find my niche. I think I always had a bit of an entrepreneurial bent and tried lots of different things. I started my career in third-party logistics and shipping. Definitely wasn't for me. I found probably the majority of my career spent in the luxury leather industry and in chemicals. So I worked for a company in Italy. I had my own business as well, refinishing leather on cars, boats, airplanes down in Marbella. So I met some very interesting people there. Done work for Dolph Lundgren. And the weirdest one was, his name always escapes me, to be honest, is the guy that had the affair with Princess Diana. And I'm shaking his hand, if I know you. Very interesting, the job that was, but that was pre the financial crisis in 2009. So I ended up working for one of my suppliers actually in Holland and Spain, and then spent a lot of my career in Italy and moved back to the UK. My wife at the time wanted to move back to the UK, and I was looking around for where I could earn a similar living, really. And at the time, 2013, e-cigarettes was the big boom. And so I stumbled into it. I came into it purely for financial reasons, being a little bit of a pioneer, really having lost my dad and maternal grandparents to smoking related illnesses, and just dug in. And I think the biggest learning curve for me was the forces that kept me in this particular, because I'd had other businesses that probably were better concepts and had more potential. But I was too young in my entrepreneurial career to understand that and gave up, or didn't have the cash flow to keep them going. Whereas this one, I had one big client that was paying over £100,000 a year contract. So it was paying everybody a little small salary, kept the doors open. And I needed to be in this area to be a dad to my son. So I just pushed on. And it was getting over that hump, that new business hump for 2-3 years. And then you see it unfold in front of you. Yeah. And then you're building that reputation and things move on. It was those forces that was out of my control that allowed me to move past that hump in this particular business. I don't get out of bed. I bounce out of bed in the morning and think about compliance. I'm an entrepreneur. It's more about how am I going to be successful? Where am I going to make money? And it happened to be regulatory compliance, really. And I think is the reason that we're successful is to take a really different approach, and we focus on customer service and old school customer service, on what you're promising. and thinking like our target market rather than thinking about somebody who's a scientist or a regulatory legal specialist. Am I over 5 minutes or are we thereabouts? I think we're
Thereabouts.
So that's
pretty
where
good.
we are
That was pretty good. It's a
today.
lot of ground to cover. It's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
And I'm always inspired by your story, Lee, because I see a lot of that entrepreneurial spirit that you've shown in what you've done. I align very strongly with that. People often say to me, like, you're involved in a lot of different spaces, Paul. You do a lot of different things. It's amazing how much luck and fortune you can make for yourself if you're prepared to say yes, but then make it work. And I think that's like the underlying principle in your story is you had to make it work. So therefore you did. And there was no plan B. That was just I need to do this. I need to get it done. And that's fantastic. A fantastic moral story for the rest of us is that.
You say yes to things and then work out how to do them. And that was something that Richard Branson said in his, I think, his first biography or autobiography. You say yes and then you work it out to do it. And that's something that resonated with me. I think I read that book in 20 years, 30 years ago. And that's, you take cues and little bits of guidance from people and heroes along the way. And those ones that resonate with you, they do impact and they do see your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. If we look at where you guys are at today, where would you guys say that your specialism is? What do you guys do for your clients?
I think what we do, we provide peace of mind because in our industry, the initial industry that we've moved into, which was vape, and then it's probably straight to what we classify as, say, non-nicotine now because it's not just nicotine products. The guys that started the vape industry, pioneers that started it, they were about harm reduction. A lot of them we got clients who were market stall traders. They'd lost people to smoking related illnesses and they were passionate about it. We got guys that were absolute hustlers that just saw a pound in that industry. They knew how to market. They were passionate. But what they was at home were scientists and legal eagles. Compliance was always something that was going to trip them up. And probably by design from the governments, realised by raising the bar in compliance, they're going to get rid of the bad actors in the market. What we do is provide a really robust service to our clients. And we've built that with a hive mind approach. And something that I get asked about quite a lot, the hive mind is, well, what do you mean by that? What happens is if we're representing, say, 30 different clients on a return basis, one of them will put a product into Belgium. We'll get kickback from the authorities on a particular aspect that needs to be changed that may not be clear in the regulations. So what we do is make sure that we proactively ensure that all of the other clients going into Belgium have made that change. So we're preparing them. So that hive mind is something that's really helped us to grow. So essentially we enable the Mavericks, the pioneers, the guys who are going out there and disrupting industries. Let's be honest, this is the most disruption that the tobacco industry's seen in its lifetime. What happened was those pioneers, those guys, those entrepreneurs, they immediately try and sidestep regulation. Whether when the TPD, the tobacco products came in, everyone said, well, what we'll do then is take nicotine out of that product and we'll sell what's called a short sell, which is just the carrier agent, PG, propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, and the flavorants. And then you can just go and buy a nic shot and your nicotine in, we'll sidestep it. Slowly those doors are shut. Those guys, we had one guy who sold his vape factory in China and bought a sex toy factory and said, can you help us on sex toys? And we opened that up and we started delving into that. It's twice the size of the vape industry, but with pretty much exactly the same baseline regulations. Now it's currently an unregulated scheme. That will change in time and that will become regulated. Same with cannabis. We had clients pivot into cannabis. They're doing CBD in Europe. They're doing recreational cannabis in the States. They want help because they trust us. We had clients that are making their vape device a medical device so that it can be prescribed in the NHS by doctors. So we're through the quality of our service, we've been exposed to all these pivots that our clients have taken based on the fact that we've provided them a really good service and they trust us. So it's very much, if I had to answer that question, what do we do for our clients? We enable the Mavericks. We enable those guys who are going out there and disrupting established industries. And that's really where we see our growth now, is through looking at where the next disruptive industry is and enabling those guys to go out and make as much, not mess, but create as many waves as they possibly can, knowing that we've got their back from a compliance perspective.
Yeah. It's interesting because I speak to a lot of business owners who have very exciting businesses, tech businesses, startups, AI businesses. I speak to lots and lots of different business owners, and they work in very exciting, very sexy industries. And I can see very easily how they can start to market themselves as being something very different in that space. And yet here you are, Lee, in what is traditionally seen as quite a dry environment, quite a dry industry.
Yeah.
You said it at the beginning. Nobody sets out
Yeah.
one day to go, oh, I need to be in compliance, because what an exciting industry. You don't. But
Yeah.
here you are doing incredibly well for yourself by differentiating what you guys do from your competition by, admittedly, really good customer service. Who'd have thought, right? Who'd have thought putting your customer at the center of your business would drive such great loyalty from your customers and word of mouth?
Yeah, and as well, you know, when you talk about an SME business, SME clients working in disruptive industries, they're normally coming, don't get me wrong, a lot of these companies are making tens of millions a year. Some of the guys, they're not, they're mum and pop operations. And they need, and with the vape industry, quite passionate about it now. It is a harm reduction industry. It's coming under a lot of scrutiny, unfair scrutiny, at the moment. But it's harm reduction, and I think these guys are doing good. And the more diverse that you can keep that industry, and the more you can enable the smaller guys, taking a pound out of the pocket of big tobacco, big pharma, and all of that. And if we can continue to do that, I think we're doing something right. I think we're adding to the consumer experience by making sure that these smaller companies can compete and put a safe product to market. They're not, let them do their thing. Let them be marketeers. Let them be gregarious salespeople, knowing that their back is covered through where we built a lot of proprietary software tools as well to ensure that we can scale up on the compliance side of things and have a lot of it automated. So it allows us to, they can essentially have a compliance department but outsourced. So we're very integrated in with our clients. So we know what their goal is. We know what their mission is. We can tap into all of these tools to make sure that they can push forward.
To sit in with all of that then, Lee, the question where I normally start to take it towards marketing a little bit more is, what is the one thing that you would hold on to for if you were to start a new business again, you were to give yourself some advice maybe 10, 15 years ago, the one thing that you've learned over the last while? It could be a tool, it could be a marketing strategy, it could be something that you've experienced. What's the one thing you wish you did more of to help your marketing previously?
That's a really good question. To be honest, I think the one thing that if I was going to do it again, is if you think something's going to take 3 years, it's more likely going to take 4 or 5 or maybe even 6. So you just have to push through. Whatever strategy, whatever marketing strategy you employ, stick with it. And give it the time to test. I think a lot of people, myself included, certainly in my younger years, if it wasn't happening quick enough, I immediately went and tried something else. It's because I didn't necessarily have the understanding or the experience to know that you do need to give these things time. And cash flow is key as well, making sure that puts pressure on most people. You think, I've got a small advertising budget, you put it in there. If it's not working within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you scrap it and start something else. Only through experience do you learn that sometimes you might only have to go 5 weeks or 6 weeks and then you crack it. I'm not saying that's the case, that's the tipping point, but there is a tipping point. And sometimes the tendency is, particularly for entrepreneurs with a smaller budget, is to scrap it and start something new before you reach that tipping point. So I've never started a business with investment. I've always bootstrapped everything. And you need to have that one contract or that one client that keeps the doors open, enough money to keep the lights. Yeah, that champion. And if you haven't got that champion, you got to make sure that you're well funded and buckling down and watching the pennies. And that's probably the takeaway for me. There is, everybody's searching for that secret recipe, that secret marketing mix. The fact is, it changes depending on, the product, the industry. There's so many variables. And unfortunately, you are going to waste money before you you stumble on that success. For us, the success and the recipe for us was just banging down doors, and giving it enough time for that reputation to grow. We had that one client. We provided them with an exceptional service. They told other people. So when we went and spoke to other people, you might not pick that client up straight away, but you're in their mind. So when their current supplier does make a mistake, you're the first name on the list to call. We did double year on year in terms of revenue, but it wasn't easy. But you need that one client that allows you to keep the doors open, and 3 years was that tipping point for us before that reputation was established well enough that people started knocking on our doors. So you plotting, I listened to a really good audio book called From Impossible to Inevitable. And it's about hyper growth companies and mainly such companies. And there's some real gems in there. And one of them was the way that they spoke about the marketing mix. And it was spears, nets, and seeds. So seeds are being what you're putting out there, allowing to grow. Spears is your outbound sales, and marketing mix is your marketing mix. And I think it's a really good way of thinking about it. It allows the non-marketing person to be able to think, oh, spear, that's going out. And net, that's what you're going to collect in. Seeds is what you're growing. And that was a really good thing. It's not anything really specific, but it's a good way to think about pictures if you're not a marketing professional. And if you are an SME, you might not have enough money to employ a marketing manager. So you do need to know a little bit about it.
Yeah. Or you need to learn quickly. I think something I've certainly experienced over the last year of running my own business, 13 months in now, 14 months in. And I didn't really appreciate the amount of hats that I'd have to wear and master to get anywhere near successful. And I don't claim to be successful yet. We're still on the journey, but I figured we'd start our own business and I'd be doing all the things that I envisaged doing, and it'd be lovely and life would be brilliant. And actually then you've got to balance and reconcile your finances, and you've got to add receipts into your banking platform, your accounting platform, and having conversations with accountants about why you've done this way and that way. And before you even get thought about social media and websites and all the rest of the amazing things that seem to be necessary to be able to have a robust strategy. I guess to come back to that question around the marketing for you then, what's something that you see in a lot of people trying to do that is just, maybe it's a myth in market and you don't believe it's real, maybe it's something that you just wish people would stop doing, it doesn't work, or maybe something that from experience you've tried and just really didn't work for you, and why? There's a lot of options there.
Okay. I think, I'll go at the thing that I wish people would stop. And I know it's not AI lead generation through LinkedIn is one that drives me getting spammed. And I think what I've noticed is our business has become more successful. Personally, I've become a target for salespeople. And I don't have a full-time PA. I have people helping me on different aspects and consultants. I don't even filter to that. So the amount of emails, and some of them are thankfully caught by spam, but the amount of emails on LinkedIn that are AI generated that initially I started responding to and saying, look, thanks, it's not for us. Now I just delete them just because I just simply the amount of them. And I get, most of them are lead forensic companies and would you want more leads and all that sort of thing. I find that really irritating. And I do the AI thing, I find somewhat uncomfortable with immersing myself and jumping in the deep end really to just try and understand it, because I do appreciate it is the way forward, but it does make me uncomfortable. I say from a security aspect, from protecting domain knowledge, to start putting it out there, you have to be really careful of who's going to see it and whether or not you're going to be putting your data and expertise in the hands of competition. So that's something that's really uncomfortable. From a perspective of what we've done, that's a really good question. And then partly that's why I came on to this. I agreed to come on to the podcast, because historically we have, I wouldn't say been lucky, we've worked very hard, and our marketing has been focused more realistically about direct sales and putting yourself out. We made some really good strategic partnerships with expos. So we would act as compliance partners for the show. So we would essentially give our services for free. That was a really good way of actually getting in front of people that didn't know about us. We had credibility for being show partners, and we picked up information there. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work involved in that, because you are offering a service to the organisers to ensure that the product they're coming to show are compliant to that particular market. But that was pretty good for us. So it's been, we've put effort in, but not much spend. Where we are now, we are top 3 for Europe in terms of compliance for the novel nicotine sector, possibly even top 3, top 5 in the world as a company in that sector. But as we see consolidation in that particular market, as is going to happen, as the regulations become, bar is raised, we're going to see consolidation within that market. We need to think naturally about where we go and how we grow as a company. And I mentioned earlier in the interview that adult toys, cannabis, medical device, so they're the areas that we're moving into. But we don't necessarily, apart from the clients that have pivoted, we don't have a reputation in there. So we are starting from ground zero. So for me, I'm now looking at opportunities, or what strategies we employ to maintain that growth. Now, I don't want to wait 6-7 years to growing adult toys and all of that. We want to accelerate that growth because we've now got the revenue to be able to do. For me, we're in unfamiliar territory in terms of what marketing we employ. So I'm looking at an awful lot of things. We've worked with yourselves on the video content. We're looking at things like improving our lead generation funnels across social media and in general. We're working on, I went with a business accelerator called Key Person of Influence with a guy called Daniel Priestley. And we've done that about 4 or 5 years ago now, and in 24 assets. And we added Daniel as a business coach for us as well. And some of that stuff was groundbreaking, the KPI stuff. And I think you and I were chatting and chat about that. And I believe you've got some other people who've been through those accelerators as well. And that stuff, I'd done that. And as soon as we started implementing those 5 key areas, my business went like that. It really did accelerate. And I think, why didn't I know this 20 years ago when I was young and I had more road in front of me? But nonetheless, we did implement that. And that is social media, getting your picture right, publishing. I wrote a book and published a book about compliance. So we implemented that. And I would say that's a really good roadmap for anybody. Start by reading the book. If you haven't got whether it's 10, 15 grand, I think it might be less than that, actually, to do the actual accelerator pulse. Start with a book, consider some really good stuff in it. And he's come out with something called Scorer. It's basically like a scorecard that you can tailor. And we've done that early doors. We've done a compliance health check for the vape industry. And essentially what it does, it allows brands to actually go through, answer 20, 30 questions, and we'll prepare a report for them and give them a bit of a benchmark on where they are, where the deficiencies are. So it's a gap analysis in layman's terms. But what it does, it allows you to see where the weak points are in your strategy. And then you can implement your risk management to ring-fence your brand and protect it. So I would say organic, as much as organic as you can in terms of working with industry-specific exposures. That's a really good one. The content marketing, try and get it out there. Even if you're not paying for raising the profile of your ads, you're just putting stuff out there. If you've got something good to say, get it out there. The one thing that I learned, and what some people do, they spit out, churn out video after video, and it's, I'm referring to crap. Just instead of doing 10 crap videos, do one really good video. Work with somebody like yourself that's going to top and turn it, edit it, polish it up, produce quality assets, because those assets are going to be on the internet forever. So it's better to have one really good video than 10 crap ones.
Can I add to that? It doesn't need to be perfect.
Genuinely think to really.
I'll add to that. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough. There's a level above doing it yourself before getting to enterprise polished video editing, which I see a lot of people stressing about. Getting it out there is better than not getting it out, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It does, to your point, however, need to be of a certain standard.
Yeah. There's the guys that think you, which is like, they do hashtag GST, get shit done. And that's what it's down to. You get it out there, you get out there. And if you're credible and if you're making really good points, it doesn't really matter about the quality of the video, it's the quality of the content. However, it needs to be edited. You want an intro and an outro or something like that. You want a decent introduction. You want to get some guidance on that. I'm not sure I was spending £400 on that, or you get some of them done for £2,500, then spend £2,500 on a magazine that is going to be in the bin within a few weeks. Those videos are going to be out there. You can stagger them over 4 or 5 months, and you've got a really good basis for your content.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming to the end of the half hour, Lee, so I'm gonna start to wrap up the show. If people want to get in touch, if they liked hearing about what your journey you've been on, or perhaps are interested in Arcus for their own business and their own compliance, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best route?
The best one is probably, as long as it's not on our email, he's probably on LinkedIn. You can follow me on, I think I'm there as Lee J. Bryan. Oh no, I am Lee Bryan actually. So yeah, reach out to me. Or visit the website, arcuscompliance.com.
Perfect. And I'll make sure all that's in the show notes as well, along with the books that you mentioned today. And yeah, I did actually send Daniel Priestley, didn't answer by the way, but I did send him a thank you message to say thank you for putting so much business my way, because I can't count the amount of people now that I've spoken to who've been incredibly impressed with his work and then have come to me as a result. But yeah, I do feel like I owe him a pint or two at the pub next time he's there with me, but not sure when that'll be.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy, very intuitive guy as well. He's highly recommended.
I need to get him on the show. That's what I need to do. That's my next goal. I'm going to have words with people, see who knows him. Perfect. I'm not paying for him though. Bootstrap this. Comes on because he wants to be associated with me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think if you reached out to him, I was just going to say, to be honest, if you reached out to him on LinkedIn and said that you've got an awful lot of clients from him, I think that he'd give you some of his time. He's a decent lad.
I will make a repeat effort to get in touch with him, because I do think I need to have a chat. It's a fantastic. It's interesting what business takes you though, right? If you let it. And to your point earlier on, just do more saying yes to things, and just have the right people around you who can help you turn that yes into work. That for me is the key, is not just saying the yes, but surrounding yourself with people who are better than you are at doing lots of different things, and then being able to lean on them when the time's right. This has been MarketPulse Pros and Pioneers. I'm Paul. This has been Lee. Been a pleasure to have you along. I will see you next Wednesday, 3 p.m.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. The contact details are in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. Your host today was Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Javelin specialize in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away, and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximize your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next week for the next episode, and don't forget to give us a subscribe and a review. Our podcast is only possible with your support.